What's going on YouTube? My name is ginj-tcg or Chris, and today I'm back with another Pokemon Pocket episode. I figured since there's a new event where you need 5 consecutive wins to get the new emblem, I might as well show off the deck that got me there. And I know I haven't done a Pokemon Pocket episode in a while, but you know, I figured I'm gonna do them like more infrequently, but kind of when new events happen or I got a new deck that's fun and like kind of cooked up. And I have a couple that I do have that I have been playing and doing pretty well with. And if you're interested in more Pokemon Pocket videos, let me know. I'm totally down to do once a week, but I figured I might as well showcase the deck that got me 5 wins in a row. If you know my style and all my other videos in the Pokemon trading card game, like the regular game, I'm not huge into playing meta decks. So with this one, it's more of like an off meta deck. I mean, I've been seeing it pop up in some of the online tournaments, but I feel like it's been a pretty consistent build across the board. It's still kind of floating under the radar, and this is the build I am using, and it revolves around Weezing and Arbok. So Weezing, if you don't know, has the gas leak ability where once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you can make your opponent's active Pokemon poisoned, which is pretty big in Pocket because Pokemon generally have a lot less HP, and then you could kind of stick Pokemon in the active spot with Arbok to let that poison damage build up. So Arbok has the corner attack where you do 60 damage, and during your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. So essentially, if your opponent is playing any build that doesn't use Koga, so essentially another Weezing or Muck build, if they play any other deck, you could use Gas Leak to poison a Pokemon, and then Arbok to corner a Pokemon, and let that poison damage and the corner damage really ramp up. In general, I think there's a lot of pros to this deck, and I'll get into the Wigglytuff in a second, but having Weezing as kind of like the main primary attacker is awesome because it's a 1 energy attacker. So if you go first, you really don't miss that like crucial energy placement to get your deck going like you do in Articunos, Starmies, Pikachus, Charizards, Mewtwo's. Like that, decks like that want to go second so they can get that energy as fast as possible, and evolving is almost secondary because, you know, the games are a bit longer, like they're a bit more turns. In this deck, obviously going second is nice because you got a bunch of Pokemon who can attack for 1 energy, including Jigglypuff with the Sing attack to put a Pokemon to sleep and hopefully stall you another turn or two. But all of these Pokemon have 1 energy to attack, so you could use all of them. But if you go first, at least for Weezing, it only needs 1 energy, so it's not hard to just start rolling immediately with this guy. The Tackle attack, although 30 damage does seem very underwhelming, it is very clutch because when you think about it, if you're up against the Gardevoir matchup, you get plus 20 for weakness, so you're swinging 50, and then you get to use Gas Leak and poison your opponent's active Ralts if they haven't evolved, which can take a KO and really hurt their Gardevoir line. But in general, 30 damage is pretty relevant in a lot of cases. You know, 30 damage plus a a couple turns of Gas Leak and a corner, you're at 1-shot or 2-shot range essentially for a Pikachu, which is kind of nice. You know, a tackle plus 1 poison, so 40 damage with tackle and 1 poison damage. Plus a Wigglytuff is 120, which is hitting things like Pikachu EX. 130, which is on the return turn from Gas Leak because you take poison damage in between every turn, is now taking out Starmies. So, you know, this honestly has a lot of relevant damage for tackle, only being like a surprisingly small attack. And on top of that, Wigglytuff EX is the 2 prize wonder, helps kind of force 4 prize card points every now and then, and you get Sleepy Song, where you can do 80 damage, which is oftentimes enough to kind of clean up a Pokemon. You got considerable bulk at 140, but more importantly, when all else fails, you can put your opponent's active Pokemon to sleep. So if you've poisoned them and put them to sleep, you can hopefully keep them asleep so they can't retreat or attack, and then you could litter on a lot more damage. So that's huge into the stage 2 decks. I'm talking like Charizard, not Mewtwo, because Mewtwo's the basic EX, that's an attacker, but the stage 2 attacking decks like Charizard if you're up against Gengar, Venusaur. I saw Blastoise decks running around. You know, like Wigglytuff was kind of the champion of that match, although that was after my win streak. Like after I got the 5 win streak. I think that was like my 6th or 7th game where I was just kind of rolling on good vibes with this deck. But yeah, I mean, past that, it is a epic deck. It's got a lot of consistency for it. You got Koga, like I said, to kind of scoop up Weezing. Like decks like Pikachu can't one-shot Weezing, so you know, if they swing for 90 damage or 100 with a what do you call it, Giovanni, you could just use Koga, just pick up the Weezing, promote another Weezing, and just keep swinging, or promote an Arbok, something like that. We got 2 copies of Research and Sabrina. Research to help with that draw power, and Sabrina to help kind of just gust and corner up Pokemon that your opponent definitely doesn't want you to leave in the active spot and KO. For items, we're playing just 2 Pokeballs and 2 X-Speeds. I'm rocking with 2 X-Speeds over Potion just because I feel like oftentimes you might want to, like if you lead an Ekans and then you top deck a Weezing, when Koffing's on your bench, you might just want to use X-Speed to retreat and keep that energy on Ekans, but kind of start rolling with Weezing. So I kind of like X-Speed. I feel like it's a pretty clutch card And I've even used 2 at once, actually, I think twice in my 5 consecutive wins. I used double X speed to get Wigglytuff out of the active to save it for later. So I got to use it in the early game and the end game, so that was pretty insane too. So that's pretty much it for the list. I hope you guys enjoy it. I am going to keep the Limitless up in the background. I think people were kind of rocking with me searching cards that I was up against and kind of just putting them on the side. So, you know, if I'm up against like a Venusaur and it's in the opponent's active spot, I will just search it so it's on the left side so people can read it if they're not as familiar with it. I feel like a lot of times I can help kind of just, inspire others to play other decks or kind of help like take away the confusion of Pokemon Pocket since it is still a newer game. So with that being said, thank you so much for tuning into the intro. Let's get into these 3 matches and see how well we can do. See if I can keep my win streak going with Weezing Arbok. Welcome to match number 1. Just a reminder, if I am looking down, it is because I'm playing on my iPad, so that's where the screen is. I don't have a great screen projecting way to my monitor. Anyways, so that's why I'm looking down, but I will try my best to look up, make sure I'm making that eye contact with the camera. And we are leading Ekans. We got a decent hand too, if I do say so myself, and we're up against Zapdos, so it's gonna be a Pikachu EX deck, which is one that's harder, but I am fairly confident taking, especially going second. Feels a little bit better, so I could get that energy placement early. Maybe even stay in with Ekans, although I did get the X speed, so if I pull out a Koffing, especially after playing research, that would be pretty sweet. And they got the cool Zapdos art, which is pretty epic, so we could look up this guy right here. That's what my opponent's leading, and they got Pikachu EX on the bench, and that is going to be one of the biggest threats available. But we did top deck a second Poké Ball, so hopefully we could draw into a Koffing here. Second Arbok, Ekans is cool, but I don't need the snake right now. I kind of need there he is. I need the Koffing, so I could get that lad going, but I will definitely take some extra, actually, you know what, let me research first before I think about using X speed, because my opponent very well could play red card here, so it depends what we draw into. I'm going to bench the Jigglypuff just so I could evolve that when I need to, and I think here I'm actually going to attach the energy to Ekans, and then just bite. So this way, if I play my next research and I top deck an Arbok, or top deck an Arbok, and I don't get Weezing, I can still just use Arbok and kind of just ping this Zapdos, keep it in the active spot, start ripping into it, especially if my opponent isn't putting energy on it. That would feel pretty good if it stays in the active spot right here. They are just going to pass. That is huge for us, and just like I was thinking, we're going to get the Arbok here. I was kind of hoping for that, and this is where this deck kind of thrives, because the only way to get Zapdos out of the active spot is to retreat it. So when we corner, oh my, that's Weezing and Koffing, that's massive. That's actually insane. So yeah, the only way now that they can really make this Zapdos worthwhile is if they start attacking with it. And if they start attacking with it, they're not getting energy to their other Pokemon, and it's also at one shot. So we are going to take a pretty early lead here. I don't think there's a good way my opponent could get Zapdos out of the active. They could just start putting a bunch of damage on Pikachu, which is fine, because unless they play Giovanni, Pikachu ain't one-shotting Arbok either. If you look at Pikachu, you got the attack. Hold up, let me just get it here. Pikachu EX, where you do, oh, they played Sabrina, didn't they? Yeah, they did. I wasn't looking. Honestly, I could promote the other Ekans and then retreat into whichever attacker I think is best, but I do actually like going into Weezing, potentially. Actually, wait, no, that might have been a misplay, because we're not doing 50 damage, are we? We're doing 30, and then it'll be a full 50 after my opponent heals. Oh, and they healed to get up to 70. That hurts. Maybe I should have promoted the Ekans so then I could use X speed to retreat. It's not the end of the world, though. I could still use Koga, which I definitely don't hate. I could even switch into Arbok, but I do kind of want to take out the Zapdos. I do kind of want to get an early chase down lead on the Zapdos here. You know what? Actually, this is going to work out because they used the potion. If they didn't use the potion, I think it would have been more of a waste, but now Arbok actually will KO because we can poison them, pick up our Weezing, and kind of just reset ourselves. Going back into an Arbok here, I can also start getting some energy preemptively on Jigglypuff, which is just a really good attacker in this deck. There is definitely nothing that could one-shot a Wigglytuff EX. So if I could get 3 energy and use that guy, that would be pretty huge. So we're going to take out Zapdos here, going up 2 points. So now my opponent is definitely going to promote Pikachu. I'm curious to see if they get someone else on the bench or if they're only going to do 60 damage, which is fine. I mean, that's still a substantial bit of damage. There's not much I can do about it. You know, especially because we're not going to two-shot them. Like, Weezing's not going to do that much, as nice as that would be. And I could play Sabrina and try to go for the Blitzel, but it's pretty obvious my opponent will just promote up Electrode. But I guess it's still not a bad option because we would stick it in the active spot, but they get the energy down. Or they could promote Zebstrika. You know, actually, I still might go Sabrina here. Because I only need one more point. Ideally, I really don't feel like dealing with a Pikachu. I'd rather deal with, like, anyone else. So we're going to get Weezing back up and evolved. I've got how many cards? I got 5 cards in deck. My opponent does as well. I'm going to keep the energy on this guy. And I'm actually really tempted to play Sabrina. My thought process being, like, look. If they promote Zebstrika, we'll win the game next turn with Weezing. Same thing with Electrode. Zapdos, we do, yeah, 40 damage. Actually, you know what? Sabrina's going to be the best play here. We're going to lock one of my opponent's single prize Pokemon in the active spot. And then no matter what they do, they can't retreat it. As long as they don't play another potion, Weezing should be able to clutch up, assuming my next card isn't Wigglytuff, which will just one-shot. So they do go with the Electrode. I am going to swing with Corner for 60 damage. And even if they use their last potion, because they did already play one, what do you call it? We will still be doing 40 damage. We'll do 30 with Tackle and then 10 damage with the Poison. So I don't think there's a way out of this for my opponent. I think we're pretty secure. Yep, there it is. We're pretty secure in the 1-0 with Arbok putting in serious work. And that's kind of the power of Arbok. You know, when you stop your opponent from retreating like that while they set up a different Pokemon, you kind of just get to walk through free Pokemon. And for example, if that was like Mewtwo, because I know a lot of people struggle with like Gardevoir deck. It's weak to dark. So even if you're using Weezing to swing for 50 and then poison damage is absolutely brutal, especially when you're healing it after they use the top attack. I forgot which one is Psychic Sphere and which one is like the other one, but whatever the 2 energy 50 damage one is, you know, just healing with that and then going back into an Arbok and kind of just forcing dark Pokemon down Psychic decks like throw is pretty nice. So that's going to be 1-0 for the deck. Let's see if we could jump into match number 2 and how well we could do there. Welcome to match number 2. And I just wanted to say, if you guys haven't seen, I did get a TCG Player affiliate code. So if you are getting any cards off TCG Player for any card game period, yo, you should hit up the code. That'd be pretty epic. And speak of the devil, talking a lot of smack about Mewtwo Gardevoir, and here it is, where my opponent is going first, and we open up with not a great hand, but I've definitely had a lot worse. If I could get a Koffing here, that would be insane. But no, I'm going to get another Ekans, so I won't be able to go into Weezing next turn, which hurts, but it's not the end of the world. Hopefully my opponent doesn't have the nuts and we'll be able to make just a little bit of a comeback here. But swinging for 40 against a Mewtwo, even with an Ekans, definitely don't feel bad. If I could get Arbok and just start ripping into Mewtwo right now, just like last game, oh man, that would feel pretty good. But this is definitely one of the worse hands I've had in my time playing this deck. I mean, having both my Weezings and 0 Koffings, but 2 Ekans in play is kind of a mess. And I'm so excited I got my second deck speed. That is going to do me absolutely no favors this match. So I am just going to attach the energy to my other Ekans and just use Bite one more time. And my opponent did get the Curlia, so if they have Gardevoir here, actually, that would spell a lot of danger for us, especially when we have a lack of the rest of our Pokemon in play. So that wouldn't be too good, but hopefully we can make it through. My opponent, let's see, do they got the Gardevoir? I'm praying no. I'm praying they just hit me with the Psychic Sphere, and they do. And Side Drive is the bottom attack that I forgot last turn. Okay, so if you haven't seen, actually, I think Pikachu's still on the side. If you haven't seen Mewtwo, it's got the 2 attacks. Side Drive is cracked when you got Gardevoir. And Koga, that's insane, actually. I'm getting literally 2 copies of every single card except the ones I need. So that is not what you like to see, but it's all good. It's all good. We can make it work. We're going to swing one more time on the Mewtwo. And now if we can just get Arbok next turn, we can one-shot Mewtwo EX and hopefully start to deal with the back half of my opponent's deck. Especially if they don't have another Mewtwo in play, that is going to be pretty big. However, it's looking likely that my opponent's going to get a Gardevoir down pretty soon. But oh, maybe they don't. Maybe we could live just one more turn. As many cards as I do have in my hand, they are pretty awful. I mean, these are like all amazing cards for such a different time. Like, so just not for right now. So we're going to promote our final Ekans here. If we don't get a basic Pokemon, we are going to lose the match, which is pretty rough, but that's all good. You know, we'll rock. We'll figure something out. And we get a Koffing, which definitely isn't exactly what I wanted. Now that I think about it. You know what actually I might do? Alright, hear me out. We're going to use X speed. We're going to retreat this Ekans for free. Both Ekans and Koffing swing for free. As long as my opponent doesn't get Gardevoir, they cannot one-shot Koffing this turn. They'd actually have to use Side Drive. And if they do that to one-shot my Weezing, that would be, or my Koffing, I didn't even evolve it yet, that would be pretty hilarious. But in general, I could use Koga next turn and pick up this Koffing, which I know, like, I could evolve it and get some more HP, but I can't see that helping much. I want to keep as many Pokemon as I can in play and just waste as many attacks as I can. And I want to buy myself more time to either get an Arbok or maybe I could try to get a Wigglytuff this game. I don't think this is going to be a Wigglytuff game. I got to honestly hope for my next Koffing just so I could pull off, like, a double Weezing play. I think it's going to be my best bet here. But as long as we can deal with this Mewtwo and go up 2 points to my opponent's 1, we're actually not in an awful spot. And my opponent's going to play the Jynx, which I'm not super scared of. Jynx is actually a pretty cool attacker. I do like it in the Gardevoir deck, but it's not going to do much against this deck. You do 20 damage for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon plus 30. And when we're playing with Weezing, that's not that scary, to be honest. So my opponent is going to hard retreat here, buying us even more time. Now I could kind of get rolling with my Weezing. I don't have a great way to do much here, do I? Honestly, I guess I could play Sabrina. They could give me the single prize Mewtwo, which I'm going to swing pretty hard into. But if they use that as an attacker, I guess they would need Gardevoir. That wouldn't feel too great. How much would I do? I would do 50, 70 from Poison, and then I would do 40 from Ekans. Yeah, actually, that would be pretty rough if they do get the Gardevoir this turn. But I think it is our best bet because I'm not going to KO this. I'm going to be at 70, and then they'll just retreat next turn. Yeah, I'm going to play Sabrina. They're going to give me Mewtwo. They're going to bank. They got 9 cards left, so do I. They're going to bank on getting Gardevoir. If they do get Gardevoir, that is going to hurt a bit. They're going to do some pretty substantial damage to us, but there's really not much I can do about it. Unless I get my own Arbok, and then I'll be able to take out Gardevoir, which has all their energy, and that'll feel great. But they're actually going to give me Kirlia. Oh, I didn't expect that. That's huge. I'm going to throw this energy on Weezing, just in case maybe I manual retreat instead of Koga at some point. That would be pretty sick. Not likely at all, but pretty epic. And then I'm going to use Tackle for 50 damage, and they will fall down to 20 with the Poison. But I'm assuming they either got X Speed or a Retreat or an Evolution. Either way, they do need to get, yeah, they got the X Speed. Do they have Gardevoir EX? At least we got damage done on the Kirlia. I'd rather get damage on the Kirlia than the Jynx, and it seems they're going to fall back into Jynx again and get another energy on Mewtwo. Okay, yeah, so we're in a rough spot here because next turn they can just get Jynx out of the active. I'm curious to see if they have another X-Speed in their hand, and then they can swing with Mewtwo. Mewtwo is actually going to swing the single prize one. If you guys haven't seen it, we'll pull it up here. This guy's going to swing for 120 damage, and when we're sitting here with 110 health, that doesn't really feel too great. So, I guess I could have dealt with the Jynx. Of course I get a Jigglypuff. That is, like, kind of the opposite of what I wanted. I really wanted another Weezing, but I guess it's not the end of the world. I don't want to use Koga. I really don't want to pick this guy up. I guess I just got to bank on my opponent not getting Gardevoir or another X-Speed. Neither of which feel great. But I feel like that's kind of what I gotta do. I could go back into a Jigglypuff, but I feel like, honestly, using a late-game Jigglypuff would be insane. So we are just going to tackle one more time. I'm going to try to keep my Kogas, man. I mean, if my opponent gets Gardevoir, they could use Gardevoir's ability to retreat Jynx and then use their manual attachment to set up Mewtwo and just one-shot me, and then I'm kind of cooked at that point. They discard 2 energy. Yeah, they discard 2 energy, so then, yeah, there's really not much I could do. I mean, I could promote Ekans, but chances are, you know, I'm not gonna, 1, get Ekans, and 2, I'm just gonna, like, die after that, because they'll one-shot my Arbok. So I need to get more of my evolution Pokemon in play before my opponent evolves here. Even another Sabrina wouldn't hurt. If I could just get some damage done to that Mewtwo, that would feel pretty great. I'll take a research. That's not that bad. Because we might be falling back on a sleep from Wigglytuff. And there is the Wigglytuff. Man, my Arboks are still gone, which is fine. You know what? I'll rock. I'll figure it out. And I think here, do I sack? Oh, I can't play Koga. I could play the X-Speed. I could retreat Weezing, get rid of all the energy, and sack the Ekans, but take the KO. Would that benefit me at all? Because they just fall back into Mewtwo. Then I could poison Mewtwo, use Koga again, put it to sleep. And that might be my way out. You know what? Actually, I kind of like that play. Right? This play is a little insane. But hear me out. I'm going to X-Speed. I'm going to get rid of both the energy on this Weezing. I'm going to go into Ekans because Arbok isn't going to do us many favors. I kind of like having a backup Koga. And I'm just going to bite, take the KO. But next turn, my opponent's definitely going to promote Mewtwo. Mewtwo's going to swing for 120 damage and take a KO no matter what on Weezing or Ekans. I'd rather have Weezing so I can poison the Mewtwo and then use Koga to put in Wigglytuff and try to deal with it that way. And then just rock with Wigglytuff. That's really the best out I got, especially if my opponent still doesn't have a Gardevoir, which it seems we are dodging by the skin of our teeth. My opponent has 6 cards left. I got 4. That being said, I do have research in my hand. However, I'm not going to be able to play it, and they're going to go play the Sabrina now. That is really not what I wanted, actually. That's awful news for us. I really don't want Wigglytuff taking any sort of damage. I'm just going to give my opponent Weezing. Is that their second Sabrina? I'm praying it is. No, it's not. It's their first. Okay, that's fine. There's not much I can do about that. Now we're in a much worse spot, and they get another Mewtwo down. That's all right. That's okay. So now it's going to kind of come down to how clutch is our sleeps going to be. Are we going to be able to put our opponent's Mewtwo to sleep and take a pretty cheeky prize card, or a point that way? Man, that hurts. I was really hoping they didn't have Sabrina for that play. We get our own Sabrina, which, honestly, I'm tempted to use. But then they get a free energy on Mewtwo. I'd rather just put this guy to sleep. I'd rather use research here, I think. I guess I could get another Koffing down. It's not the end of the world. There's my Arbok. I'm going to put the Koffing down in play. I could evolve it into Weezing. If my opponent plays another Sabrina, they take the KO on Arbok anyways, so I feel like it really doesn't hurt us. But for now, I think sleep is going to be our best friend. If I could just stop my opponent from attacking just in case they get Gardevoir, that would feel so good. So they're going to fall asleep. They're going to flip a coin. If heads, we're in danger. And we're in danger. All right, now we have to bank on them not getting Gardevoir. They got 5 cards left in their deck. 2 of them are Gardevoir. There's research. Now they got, I think, the guaranteed Gardevoir, unless the last 3 cards in their deck, 2 of them are Gardevoir. And we are waiting for my opponent. I feel like they would have played it by now, so maybe we got a little lucky, which I'm definitely not going to complain about. That is fine by me. Although if they attach this turn, yeah, to the benched Mewtwo EX, next turn, if they get Gardevoir, we are kind of... Ooh, that's big, actually. Them retreating there is pretty sweet, because now I could play Sabrina and get a lot more value out of that. I'm honestly even tempted... No, I shouldn't retreat myself. That would be a very bad idea, actually. That would be a very, very bad idea. Yeah, this is tough. So I got a bunch of setup Pokemon. If I retreat, it's going to be very easy for my opponent to just KO anything. If they get Gardevoir EX at this point, I think we are cooked. I could play Sabrina. They're going to give me the damaged Mewtwo, which is fine. Yeah. That's definitely what my opponent's going to do. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So now, I kill this guy. They got 3 cards left in their deck. How many research have they played? They played 1 research. So I think the last 3 cards in their deck are literally Professor's Research and 2 Gardevoir. So I don't think there's a way we could win this, which is fine. We gave it a very good go. That is upsetting, though, man. We had, like, the world's worst hand this game, and we still almost clutched up. And I think that kind of speaks to the power of this deck. I'm not even upset about this loss in terms of a showcase. Like, this was one of the worst bricks I've had playing this deck, and it was still this powerful. Like, imagine if we had even a decent setup. If we got Arbok literally at any point in the beginning of the game, if we were able to get a Koffing, like, there's so many ifs that would have allowed us to honestly kind of walk through Gardevoir. So if this is how I go down, so be it, man. I think this is finally now my win streak ending, and they're just going to take as much damage as possible. Why, man? You got the chip. Just take the chip. All right, so we're 1-1. I mean, hey, that's rough. That's a rough loss for sure, but I'm not upset about it. I think in terms of the power of this deck, still being able to almost beat Gardevoir, I'll take it. I'll definitely take it for sure. That's going to wrap it up for match number 2. We are 1-1. Let's pull it into match number 3 and see if we could drive Wigglytuff, Weezing, and Arbok home and get a positive record. Welcome to match number 3, where we open up with, honestly, decent hand. We're going second. We really don't have much going for us. I think this might be a Jigglypuff put my opponent to sleep type of game. I mean, we got the Wigglytuff in hand, and it's Articuno. Oh my gosh. I am always so scared of my opponent playing Misty right out the gate, flipping a bunch of heads. I'd be lying to you I can't make it up, dude. I was at 4 wins, and I lost to that. Of all things, I was very upset. So we are going to use Jigglypuff. We are going to use Sing. Just put my opponent to sleep here. Better safe than sorry. If I could keep him asleep, I'm definitely going to. Next turn, I'll evolve. Just kind of hope this sleep lasts throughout. I think is going to be our best bet. Hoping we get a double tails. My opponent doesn't wake up. There's one. All right, that's sweet. And my opponent has left the match. They might have been put to sleep and said, you know what? I don't want to deal with it. Never mind. They are back. They did return, which is good because I really wanted to rock this match out. And here is the Misty, the infamous Misty that I really just didn't want to see. But I do, honestly, I hope they stay asleep. No, they got heads. I was going to say something. I don't even remember what I was going to say. Oh, all right. It's going to be one of these games. I'm having this type of luck today. Please at least let my opponent flip bad flips on the sleep. I need them to stay asleep here so I don't feel pressed to evolve, and they are. So now it doesn't hurt if we evolve. Reason being, they're still asleep. So, like, if I used Sing again, it's not going to do anything. My opponent is in the same exact scenario that Sing would have put them in. But now, just in case they wake up after the sleep, at least I can live an attack, which at this point is good enough. So we are going to pass for turn here. What I am doing for a 3rd tails in a row when it counts to me. Now our opponent got 3 heads, and we're going to get 3 tails. That's massive. So now I can get the first attack off as well. So, and I don't even want to hear nothing about getting super lucky on these flips. Did you just watch my opponent's triple heads Misty? I think it's fair that they stayed asleep. And they even didn't get the Froakie evolved. They are going to stay asleep one more turn, which I guess didn't really matter because I'm going to use Sleepy Song and kind of put them to bed anyway. But I do have double X speed in hand, so I can actually start working on taking out my opponent's active Pokemon with a single prizer after getting some good sleep damage with Sleepy Song on Wigglytuff and just retreating for 1 energy, which feels great. And they are still asleep. That is actually going to be huge for us, actually. You know, I'm not going to lie, that's low-key might be the biggest sleep in the game. Either that one or the last one, I'm not going to lie. But the fact that they're still asleep, they can't retreat, they can't attack, they are just kind of stuck here. They have to double potion if they want to live this turn. And if they commit to the double potion now, I respect it, honestly. That's fair. And they're going to use X speed. I don't think my opponent knows how sleep works. When you're asleep, you're sleepy weepy. You're not moving, dog. You're stuck in the active spot. Ready for Articuno to get knocked out by Wigglytuff. Look at this unassuming. Actually, you know what I've realized? I didn't even put Articuno on the left side. We've been chilling here with with Mewtwo still on the side. So that's pretty funny. We'll see if my Articuno, my opponent's Articuno, what's this, 5 tails in a row? That's insane, bro. Honestly, I feel kind of bad at this point. I'm not gonna lie. I am tempted to retreat here, but I don't think I'm going to. I'm also, never mind, my opponent conceded. They didn't even want to bother. We're going to go up 2 prize cards, and if my opponent didn't have Greninja, that would have been a hard loss for them, because even still, we would have put them at 40 HP left. We would have been swinging hard. They were doing a good portion of our health, but I wouldn't have been scared at that point because we were ready to rumble. So that's going to wrap it up for a quick match number 3 against Articuno Greninja, a very underrated deck. I think it's got the highest win percentage right now on all the Pokemon Pocket decks on online tournaments. So we were able to take that down with ease. Showing off Wigglytuff too, so that's going to be it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. This deck is insane. If you haven't gotten the 5 victory deck, I definitely recommend this one. This one is pretty solid and doing really well right now against a lot of the top decks. So with that being said, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Let me know if you guys want to see more. I think I like the idea of a once-a-week Pokemon Pocket, and I got some fun decks that aren't played often at all that I've kind of spent a little time cooking, a little time looking at tournament results. But it's really, there's a lot of like common decks in this one because there's not as many cards obviously, but I had fun making these and seeing how they were doing online. So if you guys want to see that, let me know in the comments down below. With that being said, I appreciate you tuning in, so stay epic. Peace.